Joining me now, first class father Richard Newman, along with his son Bryce Newman. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, listen, it's an honor to have you guys on the podcast here. My listeners know all about the movie, about your guys' story, Miracle at Manchester. I've been praising this film on my show just because it really captures everything that this whole show is about: fatherhood, family, faith. So props to you guys for being able to tell the story and get it out there, because I think it's so impactful. Let me just start here, if I could. Richard, if you could just tell my listeners a little bit about your background for those that don't know and what you do.
I'm retired now, but my son has pulled me out of retirement to be the president of his foundation, and I'm working harder now for free than I ever did work when I was getting paid, but it's God's work. My son is trying to pay back for his, the kids that are walking in the shoes that he had to walk in 7 years ago, and started a foundation that is pure out of love. And that is, we give iPads to children that are diagnosed with cancer, for them to keep. And on those iPads, my son always says you can get nutritional. He found out through hindsight that nutrition is a huge part of it, a part of beating cancer. So they can find nutritional help on there, along with educating about their cancer and stuff like that. But so that's what I'm doing. I was a Wall Street guy, actually in your neighborhood. Alec worked in New York City for like 6 years before they moved me to the West Coast. That's where I met Bryce's mom, which, by the way, the film doesn't really project the actual, they take a lot of Hollywood liberties, and they wanted to condense the size of it. But his mother was a big part of his healing too. And they don't really kind of show that in the film, but she was, her and I, it was a tag team event to help Bryce. But that's what I'm doing currently. I'm the president of its foundation, the Miracle at Manchester Foundation, which is www.miraclemanchester.org for anybody who wants to check it out. See all those smiling kids, the faces on those kids when we give them the iPads. Oh my God. And Alec, I have to put this in. Reality is, yes, they love to get an Apple product. And if anybody out there, by the way, knows any contacts at Apple, please go to our website and please contact me, because it's very difficult to get their help other than go to the store and buy it. But the smiles on their face, and yeah, they're getting an Apple product, Alec, but more importantly, they just get, and Bryce can tell you, they just want to know people care, because they know what they're going through. Whether anybody understands or not, these children that are battling cancer know the fight they have on their hands. And like anybody else, they just want people to be, they want to be loved. And when we give them that iPad, they see that there's an army out there that cares about them.
Very cool, Richard. And I'm going to drop the link in the description of this podcast episode, the one you just mentioned there, so my listeners can tap it, get over there and find out more about it. Bryce, if you could hit my listeners with before you were diagnosed, during the diagnosis, and now to today, if you could tell them just about yourself.
Yeah. So let's see. Before diagnosis, I was a big athlete growing up. I played football, baseball. It'd be harder to list the sports that I didn't play than what I did. So we just freshman year of high school, I just wrapped up my our baseball season. We brought the first city championship to our school, our high school, and I hit the game winner for that for our baseball team. And then in the summer, that was when I made this team called Team USA San Diego for baseball. And we were doing our kind of end of summer big tournament in Japan. That's where we're flying to, Nagoya, Japan. Anyway, I forgot the timeline exactly, but I think it was a couple days or a few weeks before I started getting these headaches, and that caused me to miss practice. After a few trips to the emergency room, they finally did a scan, and it came back with that I needed emergency brain surgery a couple in the morning, basically. We were there at 2 a.m. and I think the surgery happened at 7 or 8 a.m. So so they after the biopsy, they figured out that it was cancerous. And from there, I was in the hospital. I spent pretty much a whole year in the hospital. But fortunately, I could continue doing high school classes, and I caught up on those classes and caught up enough to graduate on time with my current class and all my friends and everything. And from there, I was fortunate enough to go to college at UC Santa Barbara, where I did my undergrad. I majored in communications and minored in sports management, and now I'm at Texas A&M. I'm actually in my apartment right now at Texas A&M, and there I'm getting my master's degree in sports management.
Gig 'em.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, so cool, Bryce. It's your story, obviously, so inspiring to so many people around the world. And Richard, as a father here, I mean, this seemed to like go from 0 to 60 almost instantaneously here. So, how did going through this entire process kind of change your perspective on life, or change you as a father?
Well, I can tell you, we have on the website it shows, but they have a young lady by the name of Kimmy that Bryson became close to, thought of her like a sister. And under her picture, there's a phrase, and it says, if you've ever seen a child fight cancer, it'll change your life forever. That is factual. A couple of things on the timeline. Bryce said he actually had headaches for about 2 to 3 months before he was diagnosed with the tumor. We went to the emergency room. And then it was 2 weeks after he was going to Nagoya, Japan, to put on the colors, the United States colors. You're born and raised here. It's a proud thing. He worked 9 years of his life, more than half his life, to attain that honor, to be selected on the team. And they're going to the 15U World Series there against 32 other teams that had qualified, 32 other countries that had qualified. But getting back to your question, there's a couple of things that resonate in me that I'll never, ever forget. And it's emblazoned in my mind like it was yesterday. I can tell you verbatim what everything was said. One of them was during the hospital. Bryce is a little bit, he said a little bit about what he was, but he was an extremely good athlete. He was a star baseball player and football player. He played catcher as the baseball, and linebacker is football. And he's also a black belt in karate. I didn't tell you that, but so he was a tough kid, right? And he had that mentality. He wanted to, I think, kind of show his friends and his dad that, I'm a tough kid. Well, that day at the hospital when he got diagnosed with a tumor, it was 2 a.m. in the morning and this was about the 5th trip we had to the emergency room about his headaches. And he literally came in, the doctor came in at 2 a.m. after the CAT scan and said to him, son, we found a tumor on the CAT scan in your brain. We have to operate at 7 a.m. to save your life. That's what she said. I'm in behind him. And Alec, my knees are buckling, right? And my eyes are welling up, and I got to be tough for my kid, strong, saying, you got this. Yet I'm the one that's literally going to break down. My son looks directly at the doctor, and this is his quote. That's okay, doc. Just sew me up tight. I've got a plane to catch in 2 weeks to support my teammates in Japan. I'm like kind of, a little bit, what the heck? And then the doctor said, son, you're not going to Japan. That's when he started crying. Not when he knew he had a tumor, but when he knew he couldn't join his teammates. That was one that's emblazoned. And the other one, and this, I'm sorry if I break up a little bit, because when I bring it up, it still resonates. He had a friend that, it wasn't a friend, but a kid that was almost identical to Bryce, in the sense that he was the same age, football star, baseball star at his Christian high school across town. So one was in Northside, Bryce's Cathedral Catholic High School, that the community was so incredible in support of Bryson, but they were in North Town, and Christian Foothills was in the south of the town. Well, this kid's name was Jason Lyons, and God bless him, God rest his soul. He was diagnosed with brain cancer about a month prior to Bryce. And Bryce, unfortunately, had to see this. But Jason was diagnosed with a brain cancer called DIPG, which is a terminal brain cancer. They've never had a survivor. And so this kid was so strong. But Bryce has done everything. In the credits of the movie, Bryce has actually got in one of the pictures, he's got this big poster, and it's got Lionhearted, which is what Jason Lyon's last name, and number 88. He's holding it up while he was going through treatment to kind of tribute to him. But the day that Jason passed away in the hospital, they were both in the hospital at the same time. Bryson was in a wheelchair because of the second operation. And wow, sorry. He I get him back to the room after he found out that Jason had passed away that morning, and he looked at me after I put him in the bed and looked at me directly in the eyes and asked me if he was going to die.
Wow,
man, you only have one answer, as you can well imagine, but man, in the back of your head, you know that answer. You can't answer it because you don't know. But Bryce never. You can ask him. It was unbelievable. I had to doubt. Alec, I lost my faith. I believe in God and everything, but I lost my faith. And Bryce never did. And I think that was maybe God's way. He always thought he was going to beat it. And maybe that was God's way of assuring him, I'll get you in time. Don't worry about it. I've got this. But you can ask him, but he never wavered from the fact that he was going to beat a brain cancer that at the end, when his tumor came back after standard of care, the odds of beating it are 5%. And it's 5%, 5 year survival, 5 years out is what the average is. But he never wavered, man. He never.
Incredible. And Bryce, I would imagine, I mean, hearing that, a kid across town passing away, you're right there in the same situation. It seems like you're headed for the same spot. I can't imagine what that did that piece shake your faith at all? Or what was there any part during this where your faith was actually shaken?
To be honest, not really. I kind of knew from, having from the initial surgery where they removed the tumor that my only thought then was, hey, I want to get back on the field so I don't I don't disappoint my teammates, by not being with them. And from then on, I kind of knew that I was going to be fine. I was going to be healed. I just needed to, be in the hospital for a little bit. I felt confident that, God has a plan and God's got this. And, I was just looking forward to doing what I could do, what I needed to do next. If, however, I was going to entertain myself or eat my next meal, what I was going to have. So that was kind of it. So I can kind of let the cancer treatments and everything, be on the back burner for me.
Well, what's interesting, Bryce, too, is that, so much of our society, so much of our TV news coverage, everything is all focused on so much negativity that's happening around our lives that really is so irrelevant to us. And then when something like this happens, puts everything into perspective and into focus for us. And what really matters is our family, is our faith. And it really comes down to that. Was, obviously this movie Miracle at Manchester, I think was really brilliantly done. I love the acting in it. I think it was a great movie. I've recommended it to all of my listeners time and time again. But was it difficult for you in any point of this process of filming it, reading the script, getting it done, getting it out there, doing the premiere? Was any of it kind of like, you know what, I've been there, done that, I got the t-shirt, I've beaten this, let's move forward? Or was it kind of difficult to kind of have to relive this moment that was so challenging for you in your life? What was that process like?
Yes, definitely reliving it. It was watching some of the scenes. I was there obviously for a couple bits of the shooting, specifically the baseball scenes, a lot of the sports scenes, just football, weight training scenes. It definitely brought back memories that I thought I suppressed a little bit, and then they brought those back up, and it was tough watching the first screening in continuity, the first time. And luckily I was in just watching it in my room, and I was bawling, and I had to pull it together and to be out in public. I was like, this is it can't be a slobbering mess, but yeah, it was definitely tough, the first part, but it's over time that I've gotten more used to it.
And Richard, I know that Eddie McClintock, I've had him on the podcast here. He lost his father at the beginning of this filming this movie. He dedicated the movie to his father. So he was going through a difficult time in his own life while telling this story, basically this father-son or this family story. So it was, I would imagine, a difficult time for him in his own life. What was your relationship like with Eddie? How do you think he did with the film? How did you like his portrayal of you in the film? What could you tell me about that?
Well, I can tell you this much. As you can plainly see, I have a face for radio. And so Eddie made me look good. he definitely is they definitely got a better looking actor than the real life guy. But I think it portrayed me as well as the script was written. There's some parts in it that like Mike Lombardi and I really have a great relationship, and it looked kind of like it was a little testy there, but they have to do things for Hollywood. And like I said, his mother, who was a very big part of Bryce's life, was in his life more than the film portrayed. But Hollywood wanted to kind of focus on the father-son thing, and that's fine. But so it all in all, it was a great thing. I mean, look, Eddie was given a tough task to mimic me, but we have a good relationship. I literally drove him around every day of the shoot. I picked him up at 6 a.m. and I'm one of those hard chargers. I'm ready to go 6 a.m. I go from 6 to 12 p.m. at night, and I'm ready to rock and roll. So he was the Hollywood type. Like, I need 3 Diet Cokes before I can handle you, Rick. But anyway, but as a little side joke we have. But he did a great job. I tell you, another person that, if you've seen the film, another person that I have to give a shout out to that absolutely, in my opinion, kind of stole the show with his acting. Danny Roebuck. Oh my gosh. And that relationship he had with Kathy Peterson as the husband and the wife, that was really nice to see. So it kind of kept the comedic side of it, didn't make it so much drama, because you need it, because it's a tough subject. It is. It turned out great, but you don't know that in the beginning. Brain cancer is serious, so especially pediatric brain cancer.
Which also brought another great aspect into this was the veteran connection, where a veteran helping veterans, offering to give service over self, which was another great part of this film, I thought, as well. And Bryce, I know you say you're there now in Texas A&M. Are you able to go back to competing in any sports recreationally, or even at a higher level? What is that situation like for you?
Yeah, so yes, I can compete. I physically am able to. It's mentally tough. That's why I kind of hung my cleats up, because it took so much work to get where I got as an athlete, and it's going to take more work to do it now. And I was like, all right, mentally, I left on a good note. I hit the walk off for the championship for my high school. And I feel like as an athlete, all athletes are like, yeah, we want to end on a high note. And for me, that high note came, and I was like, yeah, that was a good way to go out. I focus. I'm a graduate student here, so I'm getting my master's in sports management. So I focus more on the quote unquote background stuff for sports, and I still have that athletic mindset. So I know my. Hopefully, at a master's level, I would think I know a little bit of how the sports world works. And so I'm focusing on that kind of stuff.
Hey, Alec, he does have some residuals. Unfortunately, he won't be able to compete at the level he did because his equilibrium is from his 2 operations. Well, he's had 4 brain surgeries now at this point. So from those operations, brain surgeries, his equilibrium is horrific for him, as he can tell you. And then also his vision, his right eye, and in the end of the movie, you'll see a clip of him with a patch on his right eye. That was because his right eye was pointing directly to the right, literally all the way to the right. And he had to work to get it back to where he can see the vision, but he has to wear glasses, as you can see now. But no, what I've seen him do is his way of keeping, because he's an athlete. He, like I said, you heard it: baseball, football, karate, more sports that you can say the ones he didn't play. It's easier than the ones he did. So, but he's trying to focus on, which I think is unbelievable in his career. Now he wants to do. He was blessed because of his contacts in the San Diego community, in the pro sports world, from football to baseball. And he had a lot of a lot of athletes, pro athletes, that came and visited him in the hospital that picked his spirits up tremendously. And he's seen what that does for himself and wants to pay that forward. So he wants, correct me if I'm wrong here, Bryce, you want to go with a pro sports team when you graduate and do something on the public relations side where he can bring athletes to these kids that really, whether it's cancer or in the cardiology ward, or any other critical care area of the hospital, these children's hospital, wants to bring them and have them kind of shepherd them and show them these kids need this love and they need this kind of commitment from pro athletes to help them go get through what they're doing. But correct me if I'm wrong, Bryce, on that.
Is that the game plan, Bryce? Is that what you're hoping to do?
Yeah, I got so much motivation and care and just the distraction, from professional athlete, all kinds of collegiate, high school teammates, just for previous coaches, all everything from the ground up. And so I want to hopefully go in like the PR kind of realm, and guide athletes to like, hey, this is a kid that is in a hospital or whatever. He needs some motivation or whatever it is. And kind of help with that.
Alec, I think it resonates. I'll give you an example. We went to Golisano Children's Hospital in Fort Myers this past weekend and donated 20 iPads from his foundation to these children on the cancer oncology floor at Golisano. And these kids, if you see these video clips of these smiles, he's able to hand them the iPad and explain to them, I have gone through this. I had to walk in the same shoes that you're walking. You can beat this. So they see somebody that's done it and they see somebody that's giving back. And that's what Bryce thinks he can do, I think, with these children, with the pro sports. He can go in and say, hey, I had a rough patch also, but we're here together with these athletes. They want you to survive. They want you to fight, and we can do it together. I think it resonates with them. And that's what has drawn Bryce into what he wants to do. If Bryce, am I right in that?
No, you're 100% correct. I don't, yeah.
And I would say, obviously, A Miracle at Manchester, streaming now on PureFlix. I think that movie itself, getting the word out about what you did. I think you're right there, Richard. I think the testimony of if I can do it, you can do it, I think is so much more powerful than anything else. And just so I could start closing this out here, I would ask you then, Bryce, as a cancer survivor, so many people like your friend Lyons that didn't make it. There's so many stories that don't turn out the way that your story did. What is your message of hope to the family that's out there right now that's stricken with something like your condition at the very beginning? What's your message to that family?
Right. It's tough. It's really tough, but that just like in the movie, the message of the power of prayer, prayer really works, having that strong community like I did in high school. I would think just take it one step at a time. It's kind of like walking, just one foot in front of the other. And, God's got a plan. He's going to figure it out. Everything's going to be okay. It's just tough right now.
Don't lose faith like I did. Alec, I lost faith during Bryce's troubles because he's our only child, and God does have a plan. I was furious at God, and lo and behold, I've got that guilt now. I was so mad, but God had a plan, and Bryce knew it the whole time because he never thought he wasn't going to beat brain cancer. Wait, what?
Well, and last thing I want to hit you with here, Rich, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast here, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
It's first off, that new dad, that father that's listening, I can tell you this, your love for your child, and this doesn't make sense, but you'll find out when you have your child. It grows every single solitary day, even though you don't believe it can grow any more than you love him that day. The next day, you love them that much more. It's crazy, but I guarantee you that's going to happen. And the second most important thing is the message that Bryce wanted about this story. It is the power of prayer. God is there. Don't give up on it like I did. Then you won't have to have the guilt that I have right now, but don't give up on it like I did. Well, pray, keep your faith. He is there. He is listening.
Very well said. I love the message. Miracle at Manchester, streaming now on PureFlix. Richard Newman, you're a first-class father all the way. Bryce Newman, you're a rock star. Thank you guys so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you.